This is Nick with Temple of Geek, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well.
We love the word geek. I haven't heard the word geek, and I was telling
we tell it like it is.
It was a word that was used a lot when I was a kid, and now I love hearing the word geek. I like saying it, geek.
Oh yeah, it's a prideful like embrace.
I really dig
nerd, right?
Yeah,
is that right? Geek and nerd.
I like it better than nerd. The word, I like saying the word better.
Yeah.
Geek.
So JT, what inspired you to write and direct this story without giving anything away?
This was a story that came to me because of single image that of a woman in distress running through the woods, slow motion, hospital scrubs, the archetypal final girl, Laurie Strode in Halloween. And I thought that's an image I want to build on, but I didn't know how to build on it in a way that would be unexpected or unconventional. And the story over the course of months finally came to me in that order. And by the time I realized where it was going to go, it became the most compelling idea that I had, that I was working with at the time. And I thought I have to write this.
Giovanni, you're both producing and cinematographer for this. What inspired you to kind of take on both roles?
Well, I've been shooting and doing cinematography professionally for the last 15 years, and it was always something that I was working on in the background that I didn't really want to talk about publicly, but JT sent me the script 2 years ago now, I think, or something like that, and I read it, and then within 15 minutes I called him and I was begging to be a part of it, and I guess the conversation of me shooting it evolved from that. He had come over to my shop a couple of times, and I'd show him some of what I was working on. So yeah.
Also, Giovanni's quite a good writer, which I keep forgetting about, and he'd send me stuff that he'd written, and I'd read it. And I'd send him stuff that we've just become buddies in that way, like to get notes or feedback. And so now that I'm remembering specifically, I mean, I sent it to him probably in hopes that he would produce and possibly shoot it. But at the time it was like, just give me some feedback, you know? And then the fact that he called and wanted to do it was a huge, huge bonus.
And this movie has almost a throwback of a 1970s Kubrick type of approach to it.
That's okay for you to say. That's okay. That's crazy, but go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
No. But it's got the way of storytelling where the camera itself is part of the point of view, is part of the storytelling, the different camera angles. What was your approach in telling this story?
We looked at a lot of that classic cinema. We were watching a lot of films from the 60s that had more of a deep focus vibe and very intentional composition, framing. And Giovanni was high on anamorphic, and we started watching a lot of those films. And I think we just wanted to make a well-composed movie that reflected the journey the characters were going on. But we were inspired by a lot of movies from that era, and also some newer films. But I'll turn it over to Val on the cinematography.
Well, I mean, a lot of it was really, the whole film was conceptualized. We spent 4 or 5 months creating this document that became ultimately, our roadmap or our Bible. And I think everything was sort of a concerted idea going back to that and focusing on this notion of having these characters living in this fairy tale world. One of our found the catchphrase for us was "blood on the flower bed."
Mission statement.
The mission statement, right? And so that was sort of our guide. And I think making a film usually is a miracle if you can get to the finish line. And it's amazing how many, you'll come up with an idea or something, and how many people try to convince you to do something else. But to JT's credit, he really achieved, I think, what that initial vision was that we had established. And it was just, I think we're just both really proud of the movie. So even for that, just sort of getting to that point. So yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for talking to us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you.